Hey guys, what's up? I want to talk more about this new Coleco Evolved Mini Arcades that they announced. I just got an email today actually. It's a new Kickstarter campaign. They're coming out with these two new mini arcades and their goal is to kickstart it and then release them in September later this year. Before I dive in and talk more about that, I want to talk more about Coleco itself and the background on these mini arcades. In front of me, I have my collection of these Coleco mini arcades. They came out in the early 80s. This one is my personal one I had as a kid. You can see it's all taped up. It's just beat up. I put hundreds of hours playing this. And they run off of 4C batteries, so it took a lot of batteries. I remember my parents always getting frustrated with how much we were spending on batteries. Between this and my Atari Lynx, it was crazy. But anyway, this particular game has a joystick and a button. The display is what they call a VCD display. It's similar to like a digital clock display. It's the best way to explain it. Of course, they had a handful of these, Pac-Man, Frogger. They also had some LCD display games, like this is Donkey Kong Jr. That would be more like a Game & Watch type of display, or a Tiger handheld, if you remember those. So those started in the 80s. Coleco itself, the company, actually started in the 1930s. It was actually called the Connecticut Leather Company out of Connecticut. And they obviously made leather when they first started off. Eventually they got into doing above ground pools. In the 60s and the 70s, of course, Pong was huge. They released some Pong clones. That got their foot into the gaming and toy industry. And eventually they made the ColecoVision, which is in the early 80s, which is one of my favorite consoles of all time. I highly recommend it. So now fast forward to present day, Coleco, which is the name, of course, owned by a different group of people than the original Coleco. What they're doing is they're releasing two new mini arcades. One is a Rainbow Bright theme, the other one is Robotech theme. So they're themes that are based on the 80s, which is smart, and they're themes that cater towards both the male and female. So I can't wait to get my copy of Rainbow Bright. I'm super excited for that. No, I'm all kidding aside. So basically what they've done is now these run off of lithium batteries. They're rechargeable, which is nice. No longer have to worry about the C batteries, which is great. They've modernized it. They've also updated the picture. It's a 2.75 inch screen. And it looks like, according to the gameplay I saw from both games, looks like Rainbow Bright is more like a top-down adventure game, like a Zelda clone kind of style. But it's more, looks like it's Game Boy Color graphics. Whereas Robotech looks like it's more Game Boy Advance graphics. So they're kind of different graphical styles. I couldn't tell from the videos. The music was orchestrated music. I wasn't sure if that was music from the in-game play or if that was just music with the trailer. I wasn't quite sure. The music didn't really fit the gameplay, so I'm assuming it's the music from the trailer. We'll see. Either way, they both look interesting. The Robotech game looks like more like a kind of a shooter game, a type of style, fight game, where Rainbow Bright is more like an adventure game. They retail for $45 at a pre-rate. You can get it now Kickstarter, $55 at retail. And then, of course, they have limited edition ones. I would be remiss if I talked about Coleco and didn't talk about two important things, which I know maybe on a lot of you guys' minds. First off, the Coleco Chameleon. That was a project a couple years ago that they were going to release a new system called the Coleco Chameleon through Mike Kennedy. I was involved in that project in regards to trying to port some of the games that I was working on for that particular system. I got wrapped up in some of that drama, and looking back on it several years later, I can look back and I get more mad and frustrated with the situation with Mike Kennedy. And I know that particular situation wasn't necessarily Coleco's fault, but I kind of blame a lot of it, in fact all of it, on Mike. Looking back on it, it was just one of those frustrating situations. I think my biggest regret was, in fact, getting involved with that particular project. Obviously, if I had a time machine, I would never do that. And my intention is to get involved with that project with Coleco, of course. And I'm sure they had the same intentions, was to create new games and a new item for gamers alike. So I can't really fault Coleco on that particular, getting involved in that particular system or that project. I think definitely my reputation had a blemish to that in that dark time, and so I definitely regret that. But I've made it through, and now I can actually talk about it more open now because I'm kind of over it, to be honest. But there's another thing with Coleco too. Is about a year ago they were going after homebrewers or people making new games with the trademark Coleco, and they were trying to get a piece of the pie, so to speak. And a lot of people were upset with that. A lot of homebrewers were upset with that. I'm not going to share my opinion one way or another on that particular situation, to be honest with you, but I will say this: I can see both sides. I can see Coleco wanting to protect the brand, and I can see people wanting to keep the brand alive. This kind of goes, I can see both ways. So it is what it is. I just wanted to kind of talk about both those. But overall, what are my thoughts about this particular Kickstarter? I'm intrigued by it. So far, they're asking about $30,000 is their goal to raise, which sounds like a lot of money. But when you're looking at production and looking at the costs of molds and costs of production and all that good stuff, That's not that bad, to be honest. So they're already over halfway done. I think they're at 18,000 now, about a day into it, and they have like 29 days left. So I think they're probably going to hit their goal of 30,000 plus. It definitely tugs at people's heartstrings when it comes to nostalgia, so I'm kind of intrigued on how they will do. I'm curious what you guys think about it. I'll probably end up picking some of these up just because I want to add it to my collection. They're interesting to me anyway. I give kudos to, as long as a company is legit or trying to do it with good intentions to breathe new life into old products, I'm all for that. If you're doing it for ill intentions, like with the ColecoVision, for example, looking back on it, I think that is a really, really bad move. We'll see as far as how it does. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate you guys leaving a comment. If you guys like this video, please subscribe. That means a ton. We'll see you guys soon. Take care, and of course, game on.